Wildcard plans are essential when making this week's moves in FPL ahead of Game Week 22. I've got 2 free transfers, and this is my team selection video. Hope you guys are well and you've enjoyed the mini break in FPL. We, of course, still had loads of football, right? FA Cup, we had EFL Cup semi-finals, and we've had new managers. There's been so much going on in the last 10 days, but delighted that Fantasy Premier League is, of course, back on our menu. And it's a big decision for many at the moment. It's when is the optimal wildcard window for you? And we talk about wildcard windows, and there's, of course, the obvious strategy. And I'm just going to run through at the top of this video the two obvious strategies for my team, but I think will be for many of your teams. Option 1 is a wildcard either now or in a couple of weeks' time. So Game Week 24, probably the most likely. Game Week 24 is a great window. It means you can hold your Liverpool and City assets now. They've got Burnley, Liverpool, and City have got Wolves next week. But then you can trim down on City and Liverpool. I've got 6 City and Liverpool. I'd probably only want 3 on a wild card. You can also have a great entry point for Chelsea. Game Week 24, and you get a couple of weeks to scout Chelsea, of course, and other fixture swings in play. 24 feels like a good time to wildcard for those that need to. You can get on the right 3 Arsenal assets. You ditch, as we said, some Liverpool, some City. You get Bruno Fernandes in. You go big on Chelsea. You look at Villa assets, whatever. But it doesn't play part of the wider chip strategy necessarily. The optimal strategy for many and most content creators, including perhaps myself, will veer towards a dead end in 31, which will be a blank game week because of the EFL Cup final. We now know it's likely that final will be City and Arsenal. So their fixtures will be off. Game Week 31, you can dead end your team. You can use all your transfers, making sure you get an 11 out. Game Week 31, and then you can wildcard out the back of that. And off the back of wildcard in 32, we'll have loads of information about the blanks and the doubles moving forward. With all that information, you can plan your chip strategy. So you can wildcard in 32, you can bench boost off the back of it in 33. You can then think about when you're using your free hit and your triple captain in those blanks and doubles. When you wildcard, you're going to know who's blanking and who's doubling. So that's why 31, 32 is going to be very popular. And by the way, there's 3 weeks between 31 and 32, right? So 32 wildcard, you've got 3 weeks to tinker. But 24 isn't off the menu either. And wildcard chat must be considered in the next couple of weeks. And it matters for my moves this week. And I'll explain why in just a second. But first, let me show you my actual squad, right? So here we are with my squad with 2 free transfers, very little money in the bank there. But I've got loads of players if I'm on wildcard I don't want. And you can check my wildcard video out from last week if you want to. But, you know, I'd be getting rid of the majority of this team. But who are my actual fires? Who do I have to sell in the next couple of weeks? Pressing issues in this team. Lewis Potter was only ever a short-term punt. Dango is now back from AFCON. And with Dango back, Lewis Potter isn't in the 11. Lewis Potter got me 2 clean sheets, 2 6-pointers. I'm happy to take that. But I need to sell him. O'Reilly, I probably need to sell soon. I'm still not sure if O'Reilly or Aït-Nouri is going to be the left back for the second half of the season. Aït-Nouri's back now. We'll tell very soon. But from the back line, it's Lewis Potter that needs to go soon. And then look at the midfield, and I'm like, oh, big flags for me over Foden and Cunha. Foden simply because Semenyo's addition to that City lineup just means there's an extra attacking spot now, which I think Semenyo probably takes. I think Pep wants to get back to old school wingers. Sane, Sterling were so successful for him, and he's spoken about those 2 in the last week, how Doku and Semenyo can do similar sort of stuff. Doku on the left, Semenyo on the right. What does that mean for Foden? Well, let's assume there'll always be a defensive midfielder, either Rodri or Nico Gonzalez, or even O'Reilly can play there. And then let's assume there's a number 8, and that's always seems to be Bernardo Silva. It's rare Bernardo's not in the team. He's either on the right or as the 8. And then that's only one sort of attacking central position spot available. Will it be Reinders? Will it be Foden? Will it be Cherki? Now, Foden and Cherki can play on either side, but let's say first choice is Semenyo and Doku in a lot of games, and Bernardo and Rodri are starting. That's only one spot for Foden or Cherki or Reinders, and I just feel like Foden's going to become a little bit of a minutes risk unless he starts scoring goals again very, very soon. So long term, do I want Foden in the team? No. Do I want him for Wolves next week? Yes. Do I think he starts the Manchester Derby? Yeah, probably. He's got a great record in Manchester Derbies, although he is the most sold player this game week, Phil Foden. I understand why. I really do. The other player massively up for a departure in my team, and he's on the thumbnail. You've probably guessed it. If you haven't seen the thumb, it's Matheus Cunha. Now, with Bruno playing in one of the attacking spots, do I think Cunha's in the first 11? Yeah, absolutely. I think Cunha can play on the left. I think he can play as a 10, depending on how Carrick sets them up. I expect Bruno to play as a 10 now. And Cunha can even play down the middle as the number 9. Will it be Sesko or Cunha? I don't know. Maybe Sesko because he's been scoring of late. But you've got to think Ahmad and Burmo, Bruno Fernandes, Cunha, Mason Mount still exists. These aren't all going to start. I think Burmo, Cunha, Bruno will find a way into the 11. But if you're not playing well, with the depth on the bench that I think United will have when everyone is fit, Cunha could be one of those first attacking subs off if it's not going to plan. Bruno's going to play 90. I think Burmo mostly will be on the pitch. Cunha maybe not. And again, I look at the United fixtures. It's Man City and Arsenal. Is there a harder 2-game run? Yes, Man City is at Old Trafford, fine. I expect United to score, and Cunha's not a bad pick this week, because I think that could be a basketball match end to end. But then you go to the Emirates next week. And then you do want Man United in Game Week 24. But when you want Man United in Game Week 24, that's Bruno Fernandes, right? I want Cunha to become Bruno. I don't have the money for Cunha to become Bruno. So let's talk about alternatives. And guys, if you're enjoying the video, please do like and subscribe to the video. Thank you as always. I've been busy this week. I've been at Centre Parks with the family and I've really switched off to FPL. It's lovely to be back Friday afternoon in the mode for FPL. But that's why this video is so late. Usually I'll drop my team section on a Wednesday or Thursday when it's coming to you on Friday night. And I'm now back engaged with FPL, and I will hopefully find time for a deadline stream on Saturday morning as well, probably early on. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully you'll come by and watch me on the deadline stream. So look, Fantasy Football Scout gives you all the injury updates from the Saturday, so from the Friday press conferences, so do check it out. But in terms of my team, no big injury problems there. Non-committal Pep on Nico Gonzalez, by the way. Let's see who plays defensive midfield for City. And then obviously the fixture ticker is key for our decision-making process, and we'll come back to that. But Enzo Fernandez is a player I want to talk about. Now, Enzo, I think in an ideal world, Enzo is going to play as a number 10 quite a lot. Quite a lot, I think, for Rafinha. Against Arsenal, however, he had to play as a number 8 alongside Andre Santos because there was no Caicedo. But with Caicedo back in the picture, who does Caicedo play alongside in the middle? Well, I think Andre Santos will get a lot of game time. And we still don't know if Reece James is going to be a right back or if Reece James is going to be a midfielder. We know Andam Rescue was a midfielder, and it was Caicedo and James a lot. Well, it might be Caicedo and Santos a lot. And if that's the case, Enzo Fernandez will play number 10 a huge amount. I think Palmer's going to play on the right a lot of the time, and he'll go for one winger, a Pedro Neto or an Estavio or a Garnacho. Enzo Fernandez as a 10 is going to be super dangerous, guys. I think he's one of the Chelsea star picks. And I look at the Chelsea fixtures and I know I want them in. So look, I'll compare the average position in a second, but just we're all going to be buying Chelsea players if we're not on Wildcard ahead of Game Week 24. And let me just talk a little bit about, I'll get back to Wildcard. But Game Week 24, West Ham, Wolves, Leeds, Burnley, 3 of the 4 at Stamford Bridge. But you could say 22 is also a good entry point. I know Brentford isn't an easy fixture at the moment, and I know going to Selhurst Park isn't easy, but Palace have been in a terrible run of form, and Glasner has announced that he's leaving at the end of the season, and Gahey's off. Playing Palace at Selhurst Park in Game Week 23 isn't a bad fixture at the minute, and Brentford at Stamford Bridge, you expect Chelsea still to win. So you might argue 24 is the entry point, but some might say Game Week 22 is a great entry point for Chelsea. Now, again, if you're wildcarding, you can buy Chelsea in 24 if you're wildcarding then. But if you're not wildcarding then, buy him now, right? Early to the party. If I'm going triple Chelsea, yes, it could be Cole Palmer instead of Enzo, but that's a huge amount of money to find. It could be both plus a defender. I know I want Chelsea, and I think Enzo is the most consistent performer, and he's cheap, and he's cheaper than Cunha. I would love to go Cunha up, but I can't. I've got to go Cunha down. I've got no money in the bank. So look, Enzo, worst case scenario, we get him playing here. We played against Arsenal, number 8. But even against Arsenal, most XG chain, Enzo. Most progressive passing, Enzo. Most passes, Enzo. He's the heartbeat of this team. Rafinha has spoken about elite talent in the squad. He spoke about Reece James, Caicedo, and World Cup winner Enzo. He's a big dog in this team, I've got no doubt. And he's vice captain, right? Also, penalty appeal when Palmer's not on the pitch. Could be big. Could be big. The best case scenario with Enzo is we get him playing here, number 10. Now, this was, I think, against Man City, which was the first game Rossinha was involved. He wasn't on the touchline, but I think he picked the team. Andre Santos played in the middle of the park alongside Caicedo, and Enzo had the free role with number 10. I really like the box crashing ability of Enzo, and I like the fact the penalties are there. Will he take corners? Probably not a huge amount of set pieces, but I don't think that matters too much. So look, the other guy I'm looking at is Harry Wilson of Fulham. And Wilson is a proper good player that we've probably underrated for a little while. We haven't seen Harry Wilson playing quite to these levels in the last few seasons, though. It has to be said, Harry Wilson's been great, but he's not been a consistent performer at Fulham. So when I bought Miley at 4.4, I had about 5.3 to spend. I was 0.1 short of going Wilson 5-6 weeks ago. If I'd done that, and I spoke about that on this video, I was very tempted to buy Harry Wilson. I didn't. I bought Lewis Miley, and it's fine. These things happen, but you never quite know in FPL. One decision can affect your season. I dread to think of the points I've missed out on. But look, nevertheless, Miley's in, and my structure's kind of set. And when I look at my midfield in terms of replacements for Cunha and Foden, where does that go? Does that go to a cheaper Enzo? So then Foden can go up to a Bruno? I think that's probably what I'm looking at. So to save money on Cunha so I can upgrade Foden to Bruno in 24 probably makes sense. And both Wilson and Enzo, well, they kind of fit that narrative. So that's where I'm at. Enzo I like. Wilson I like. I've got to decide between the two. Fulham's fixtures, the entry point of Leeds away is fine. Ironically, Leeds have been linked with Wilson in this transfer window. He ain't going anywhere. And then at home to Brighton's a great fixture because Brighton always have a go. Away to Man United's fine. And then at home to Everton, Man City away, Sunderland, Tottenham, West Ham. The fixtures are good. And Wilson's a really good pick. But when I compare Wilson with Enzo, well, Wilson's obviously playing wide, but Enzo's still we forget how advanced he is. He's often an 8-10 hybrid. And then when I look at the numbers, well, yes, the top line data is all towards Enzo in terms of minutes and goals, assists, similar output. But in terms of the expected, it's all on Enzo. So XG, way higher. They've played the same amount of minutes, give or take. Enzo's doubled Wilson's XG. Expected assists, considerably higher again for Enzo. Shots on target, considerably higher. XGI, heartbeat of the team, all the underlying stats that I really care about, Enzo's favour. The top line stats that you might say are really important, the actual goals assists, pretty much the same. But I get better fixtures slightly, I think, for Chelsea. And I get the penalty appeal. I think that's where I'm going to go if I make a move this week. So look, this is how I'm set up. We'll talk about my transfer at the moment. But as things stand, I'm waiting on team news. And the reason I'm waiting on team news is Foden and Cunha both play in the early kickoff. Now, there is a chance we get a leak, particularly on Man City. If we were to hear Foden's not starting, for example, I'd sell Foden. I'd keep Cunha. I'd go Foden out straight away. Absolutely, be happy to do that. If we hear Cunha's not starting, I absolutely sell Cunha. I mean, I expect Cunha to start, sure. If we hear O'Reilly's not starting, does that change anything? I don't think so, because I'm happy benching O'Reilly this week. But O'Reilly is someone I need to consider selling. Wildcard. If I'm wildcarding in game week 24, I don't want to make a move this week. I see this team through 2 weeks, and I go into the wildcard with 4 free transfers. The new rule in FPL, recent rule, you can wildcard and carry your transfers, right? We've fought up to 5, obviously, and I'd have 4. Having 4 free transfers could be massive, because if I did wildcard 24, I'd be wildcarding ahead of the crowd. And when everyone else is dead ending their team in game week 31 to then wildcard in 32, I'm going to need transfers in the bank. So saving transfers now rather than I'm going to have a 1 week punt on Conor Gallagher. No, I'm going to save transfers now because I'm going to need them in 31 to catch up with the wildcarders to make transfers to dead end and then build a team again. And so transfers for 31 and 32 will need to be saved. Wildcarding in 24 is definitely still in my mind, and I don't know if I want to commit to that. By making a transfer this week, I feel like I'm committing to wildcard 32. That's what I need to decide. As things stand, I think a transfer is more likely than not. I think Cunha out to Enzo, given the fact Enzo's got 2 better games, and I'd be early on the Enzo curve. I'd be early on that bandwagon, knowing I think everyone's going to buy Enzo in 24 anyway. So making a transfer now probably feels like the smarter play-ish. But again, it's dependent on team leagues. It's dependent on how I feel on Saturday morning. But as things stand, I'd say I am probably 60% likely to sell Cunha to a midfielder. And I think mostly that midfielder is going to be Enzo, not Harry Wilson, as much as I like Harry Wilson. The other big dilemma this week is benching order and captaincy. So first and foremost, benching order. It's between O'Reilly and Miley, right? I think Miley, well, he's going to start at right back. And at right back, guys, Miley is just a DEFCON beast. He's so good at DEFCON. It's unbelievable. Like, right back shouldn't be a position where you pick up huge amounts of DEFCON. Yet in the last 5 weeks, Miley has had a 16. Remember, he needs 12 defensive contributions because this is a midfielder, not a defender, annoyingly. So I don't get the clean sheet points, or the 4 clean sheet points. But in the last 5 weeks, he has had a 16, a 7, an 18, a 10, and an 18. He's had 16 or above 3 times in 5 weeks. That's mad. So look, Lewis Miley, I feel like the floor is 4 points. He's going to get more than 60 minutes, and he's going to get DEFCON against Wolves. 4 points, probably take that. I think I'm going to start him over O'Reilly. O'Reilly, will he get a clean sheet at Old Trafford? I feel like that's going to be a bit of an end-to-end game. Will it be high scoring? I'm not sure. But is O'Reilly even now to start? No. It could be Aït-Nouri at left back. Could be Ake at left back. Certainly could be Ake still at left back. So let's watch this space there. But O'Reilly, as things stand, is in. And then captaincy. I've been toing and throwing between Ekitike and Haaland all week. Pepper said Haaland's tired, but it's like, yeah, why'd you play him against Exeter then? Why'd you play him in the FA Cup against Exeter if he was tired? I think he used the term exhausted. Haaland loves scoring against Man United. But Ekitike has the fixture. Who's going to score more goals? Liverpool versus Burnley or City versus United? I genuinely believe Liverpool score more goals. I'm going to say City score 2, Liverpool score 3. And it could very easily be more than that, right? My problem with Ekitike, and he came on in the week, on Monday night, he played Monday night, FA Cup. He got half an hour, goal and assist, looked great. Linked so well with Florian Wirtz, by the way, who is a good buy this week. My problem with Ekitike is because of the injury and because they've got to be so precious over him. Like, Isak is out for such a long time and they're not in the market to buy number 9. Their number 9 options are Wirtz. He's not a 9. Gakpo, I don't feel like he can play number 9 well alone. And the young lad Ekitike, who's probably had more minutes than planned, and he's clearly managing a knock. He's not playing 90 versus Burnley. And I have to remember that with the captaincy decision. He only plays 90 if game state means he has to. If it's 0-0 or 1-1 or it's really tightly balanced and they feel like they need him. But in an ideal world, they're not giving him 90. He's being rested for the... He's getting 60, 70 minutes, then he's going to be start again in the week. And knowing Haaland probably does play 90, just doesn't matter what game state is, Haaland's going to play 90 or close to it. I've got to back the minutes here, haven't I? And I think, again, I'm probably 70% likely to go Haaland now. I've been 50-50 all week. I was 50-50 on my early thoughts. I'm going to say it's very likely to be Haaland just as the minutes play, the more and more I think about it. I've also got eggs in baskets, right? I'm already tripled up on Liverpool. By captain Ekitike, it's effectively quadruple up. Do I need to go that heavy? Maybe not. Ekitike is great, and I do think he's got the standout fixture. But I need 90 minutes or close to for my captain. I don't think I get it this week with Ekitike. There will be weeks I'm back against Haaland. There will be weeks you do as well. Let me know what you're doing with captaincy, and I'll see you around 9 a.m. on my deadline stream. Thank you for watching. Hit the buttons on the way out, and I'll see you very soon.